The man who controlled everything. Except his heart. The fear of losing someone doesn't always look like panic. Sometimes it looks like a man in a perfectly tailored suit pacing a hospital hallway at 3 in the morning. Back and forth. Back and forth. His footsteps echoed sharply against the sterile floor, the sound cutting through the quiet like a ticking clock. Every second felt louder than the last. Alexander Hayes was a man the world considered untouchable. At 39 years old, he owned one of the largest medical technology companies in the country. His name appeared in business magazines. His decisions moved markets. People described him with words like powerful, decisive, intimidating. But none of those words meant anything right now. Because behind the white doors at the end of the hallway, his 8-month-old daughter was crying. And he couldn't do a single thing about it. Alexander glanced at his watch. 43 minutes. That's how long it had been since the nurse had taken little Lily into the examination room. 43 minutes since the doors had closed. 43 minutes since he'd lost control of the situation. Control was the one thing Alexander Hayes depended on. Ever since the worst day of his life. The day Lily was born. And the day his wife died. The doctors had called it complications. A word that sounded far too small for the hole it left in his chest. Emily Hayes had been sunlight in human form. Warm, patient, endlessly kind. And she was gone before she ever got to hold her daughter. Alexander still remembered the silence in that hospital room. The unbearable stillness. A newborn crying in his arms while the woman he loved lay motionless beside him. That day had broken something inside him. Since then he had built walls around his life. Around his emotions. Around everything. Everything except Lily. Lily was the only piece of Emily left in the world. And when she got sick, the walls cracked. The doors finally opened. Alexander stopped pacing. A young nurse stepped out carrying a tiny bundle wrapped in a pale pink blanket. For a split second his heart stopped. Then he noticed something strange. The baby wasn't crying. Not even a whimper. Alexander frowned slightly as he walked toward her. For the past 2 hours Lily had been screaming with fever, her tiny face red and flushed. Nothing had calmed her down. Not the car ride. Not his voice. Not even the emergency room staff. But now, she was sleeping. Peacefully. Her small head rested against the nurse's shoulder as if she'd found the safest place in the world. Alexander blinked in disbelief. How? He asked quietly. The nurse smiled tiredly. Her hair was tied into a messy bun, strands falling loose around her face. Dark circles beneath her eyes hinted at a long shift, but there was a softness in her expression that immediately stood out. The medication is working, she said gently. Her fever is coming down. Alexander barely heard the explanation. He was staring at his daughter. Lily's tiny fingers were curled tightly around the nurse's index finger. Holding on. Like she refused to let go. Alexander's chest tightened. Lily didn't do that. She was shy around strangers. Nervous. Yet here she was, completely calm in this woman's arms. What's your name? He asked. Anna, the nurse replied. Anna Carter. Her name was printed on the badge clipped to her uniform. Alexander read it once. Then again. Something about the moment stayed with him. The way she held Lily so naturally. The quiet humming sound under her breath. A soft lullaby that sounded older than time itself. It reminded him of something. Of Emily. The thought hit him unexpectedly. And it hurt. Anna noticed the flicker of emotion across his face. First time being a dad? She asked gently. Alexander let out a short breath. 8 months, he said. 8 months of learning as I go. Anna nodded. That's usually how it works. She carefully transferred Lily into his arms. The baby stirred slightly but didn't wake up. For a moment their hands brushed. Just briefly. Alexander felt the contact like static electricity. Strange. Unexpected. But before he could think about it further, Anna stepped back. She'll be okay, she said. Just monitor her temperature tonight. If it rises again, bring her back. Alexander looked at her for another moment. Then nodded. Thank you. It was a simple phrase. But it was the most sincere thing he'd said in months. Anna smiled. A small, warm smile that reached her eyes. Then she turned and walked down the hallway, disappearing behind another set of doors. Alexander watched her go. He didn't understand why that moment felt important. But something inside him shifted. That night, after Lily finally fell asleep in her crib, Alexander sat in the quiet nursery. The house was enormous. Too big for just 2 people. He had bought it years ago when Emily was pregnant. They had planned to fill it with children, laughter, family gatherings. Now most rooms stayed empty. Alexander slept on the couch in Lily's room every night. Just in case she needed him. Just in case something went wrong. Just in case the world tried to take away the last thing he loved. As he sat there watching the baby monitor, his thoughts drifted back to the hospital. To the nurse. Anna. Her tired eyes. Her calm voice. The way Lily had instantly trusted her. It made no sense. Yet the image replayed in his mind again and again. 3 days later, Alexander made a decision. He needed help. Being a single father while running a multi-billion-dollar company wasn't sustainable. He had already hired 2 nannies before. Both had quit within weeks. Lily refused to settle with them. But maybe a nurse would be different. Alexander returned to the hospital. He found Anna just as her shift ended. She was walking toward the parking lot carrying a small paper bag. Probably dinner. Miss Carter. She turned. Recognition flashed across her face. Oh, she said. Mr. Hayes. Her first reaction wasn't surprise. It was concern. Is Lily okay? Alexander noticed that immediately. Her first question wasn't about why he was there. It was about the baby. She's fine, he said. Anna relaxed. Good. There was a moment of awkward silence. Alexander cleared his throat. I'd like to offer you a job. Anna blinked. A job? Yes. He slipped into his usual business tone. Direct. Efficient. My daughter needs a full-time caregiver with medical training. Anna frowned slightly. I'm a nurse. I know. That's why I'm asking. She hesitated. This hospital needs me. My daughter needs you, Alexander replied. The words surprised even him. Anna studied his face carefully. You don't even know me, she said. I know what I saw, he replied. You calmed a baby that nobody else could. That's enough for me. Anna looked down for a moment, thinking. Finally she sighed softly. I'll think about it. Alexander nodded. I'll need an answer by Friday. She agreed. 2 days later, Anna Carter arrived at the Hayes estate with a single suitcase. The housekeeper, Mrs. Henderson, greeted her at the door with a knowing look. So you're the nurse. Anna smiled politely. I guess I am. Just then a baby's cry echoed from upstairs. Without thinking, Anna rushed toward the sound. She found Lily standing in her crib, red-faced and upset. Anna picked her up instinctively. Within seconds the crying stopped. Downstairs, Mrs. Henderson chuckled quietly. Oh dear, she murmured. Mr. Hayes has no idea what he just invited into this house. Because the moment Anna Carter walked into their lives, everything was about to change. And neither of them was ready for what would happen next. The nurse who changed the house. When Anna Carter moved into the Hayes estate, she quickly realized something unusual. The house was beautiful. Massive glass windows. High ceilings. Marble floors. Perfectly arranged furniture. Yet somehow, it didn't feel like a home. It felt like a museum. Every object was exactly where it belonged, untouched and silent, as if the entire place had been frozen in time. Mrs. Henderson, the housekeeper, noticed Anna observing the living room on her first evening. Beautiful, isn't it? The older woman said while folding a blanket. Anna nodded. It's stunning. Then she hesitated. But it feels quiet. Mrs. Henderson gave a small smile. That's because it is. She lowered her voice. This house hasn't felt alive since Mrs. Hayes passed away. Anna didn't reply. She had read about Alexander Hayes before accepting the job. His wife's death had made brief headlines months earlier. A tragic complication during childbirth. After that, the article stopped mentioning his personal life. Now Anna understood why. Grief still lived in this house. You could feel it in the silence. Upstairs, Lily began to cry. Anna instinctively walked toward the nursery. The moment she stepped inside, the baby reached out toward her. Anna lifted her gently. There you go, she whispered. Lily's tiny hand grabbed Anna's shirt collar. Within seconds the crying stopped. Mrs. Henderson watched from the doorway. Well, I'll be, she murmured. You've got a gift. Anna laughed softly. It's not a gift. Babies just want to feel safe. Downstairs the front door opened. Alexander Hayes had returned from work. His footsteps were steady, controlled, and purposeful as always. He removed his coat and handed it to Mrs. Henderson. How was she today? He asked immediately. Mrs. Henderson smiled knowingly. She's upstairs. Alexander frowned slightly. I assumed that. With the nurse, she added. Calm as a sleeping kitten. Alexander walked upstairs. When he reached the nursery door, he stopped. Inside, Anna sat in the rocking chair. Lily was asleep in her arms. Anna wasn't doing anything special. She was simply rocking slowly, humming a soft melody. But something about the moment was strangely peaceful. For months, Lily had struggled with restless nights. Tonight she looked completely relaxed. Alexander leaned against the doorway, watching. He didn't realize how long he stood there. Anna finally noticed him. "Oh," she whispered. "I didn't hear you." Alexander straightened slightly. "Did she give you trouble?" Anna smiled. "A little." But she calmed down. Alexander nodded. Then he hesitated. "You don't have to stay with her that long." Anna tilted her head. "I know. But she likes being held." Alexander didn't respond immediately. He looked at his daughter. Then at Anna. Then quietly said something unexpected. "Thank you." Anna blinked. It sounded sincere. Almost vulnerable. That surprised her. Most powerful men she'd met were too proud for simple gratitude. But Alexander Hayes clearly wasn't most men. Over the next few weeks, something subtle began to change in the house. Anna had a way of bringing life into quiet spaces. She talked constantly to Lily while feeding her. She described the clouds outside, the birds in the garden, the smell of fresh laundry. It sounded silly at first, but Lily responded to it. Her tiny giggles began echoing through the halls. Mrs. Henderson loved it. "Finally," she said one afternoon, "a baby who sounds like a baby." Anna laughed. "You say that like it's unusual." Mrs. Henderson shrugged. "It is in this house." Meanwhile, Alexander noticed everything. He noticed that Lily slept longer. He noticed that she smiled more. He noticed that Anna somehow remembered every tiny detail about the baby's routine. And he noticed something else. Something that unsettled him. Anna never tried to impress him. She didn't act nervous around him. She didn't treat him like a powerful billionaire. She treated him like a father. One evening, Alexander returned home earlier than usual. He heard laughter from the living room. Real laughter. Curious, he walked toward the sound. Anna sat on the floor with Lily. She was stacking colorful blocks. Lily knocked them over immediately. Anna pretended to gasp dramatically. "Oh no." The tower collapsed. Lily burst into giggles. Alexander stopped in the doorway. The sound hit him unexpectedly. His daughter laughing like that. He hadn't heard it often. Anna looked up. "Oh, you're home." Alexander cleared his throat. "Yes." Lily saw him and stretched her arms out. He picked her up. For a moment, father and daughter looked at each other. Then Lily grabbed his nose. Anna laughed. "Careful," she said. "She's very strong." Alexander looked at Anna. Something about her smile felt warm. Dangerously warm. He quickly looked away. Later that night, Alexander sat in his office working. But his focus kept drifting. To the sound of Anna's voice upstairs. To Lily's laughter earlier. To the strange feeling in his chest. He didn't like that feeling. It meant he was losing control. The next morning something unusual happened. Anna walked into the kitchen and stopped. A cup of coffee sat on the counter. Fresh. Hot. Exactly the way she liked it. She frowned slightly. "Mrs. Henderson?" The housekeeper shook her head. "Not me." Anna looked confused. Later that day it happened again. Another coffee. Anna began to suspect the truth. But Alexander never mentioned it. And she never asked. Days turned into weeks. A quiet routine developed between them. Not romantic. Not yet. But something deeper than simple professionalism. They started sharing short conversations. Small moments. Once, while Lily slept, Anna caught Alexander eating cookies in the kitchen late at night. He froze like a child caught sneaking candy. Anna grinned. "Secret sweet tooth?" Alexander tried to look serious. "I have no idea what you're talking about." Anna raised an eyebrow. "Sure." The next evening, Anna baked a small apple pie. She placed it on the kitchen counter without saying anything. Alexander walked in later. He saw the pie. And he knew immediately. He didn't say thank you. But he took a slice. The silent understanding between them grew stronger. Mrs. Henderson noticed everything. Of course she did. One morning she watched Anna adjusting Alexander's tie before he left for work. It was such a small gesture. Yet it looked strangely natural. Like something that had been happening for years. Mrs. Henderson shook her head and muttered under her breath. They already look like a family. Neither of them heard her. But deep down, they were beginning to feel it too. Then came the evening that changed everything. Lily had been restless after dinner. Anna carried her through the living room, rocking gently. Soft music played from a nearby speaker. Anna hummed along quietly. She began swaying slowly, almost like a dance. Lily relaxed instantly. Anna turned slowly across the room. She didn't notice someone had entered. Alexander had come home earlier than usual. He stopped when he saw them. The sight froze him. Anna dancing slowly with Lily, bathed in warm golden light from the sunset. It looked peaceful, beautiful, almost like a scene from another life. Anna turned suddenly. She didn't see him until the last second, and she walked straight into him. The collision made her gasp. Alexander reacted instantly. His hand grabbed her waist to steady her. His other arm supported Lily. For a moment, all three of them stood frozen. Anna looked up. They were incredibly close. Close enough to feel each other's breath. Alexander's hand remained on her waist. Neither of them moved. Lily sighed contentedly between them. Anna's heart began racing. Alexander felt it too. Something unspoken passed between them. A moment. Fragile. Dangerous. Then Alexander slowly stepped back. Careful, he said quietly. Anna nodded. Yes. But neither of them could ignore what had just happened. Because for the first time, the distance between them had completely disappeared. And neither of them knew what to do about it. The night everything changed. After that moment in the living room, something invisible shifted between them. Neither Alexander nor Anna spoke about it. But both of them felt it. The distance that once existed between employer and employee had quietly disappeared, replaced by a tension neither of them fully understood. And tension has a strange way of growing in silence. The days that followed were filled with small, ordinary moments that suddenly felt different. Alexander found himself lingering in rooms longer than necessary. Anna noticed. He would stand near the kitchen counter pretending to check emails while Lily played on the floor beside her. Sometimes he watched them without realizing it. Other times he would quickly look away when Anna caught him staring. Anna noticed something else too. Alexander smiled more often. Not big smiles. Not the confident ones he used in business meetings. But quiet ones. The kind that appeared when Lily giggled. Or when Anna made a sarcastic comment that surprised him. One evening while Lily was asleep, Anna was washing bottles in the kitchen sink. Alexander entered quietly. He hesitated for a moment before speaking. You're good with her. Anna turned slightly. With Lily? Yes. Anna shrugged. She's easy to love. Alexander leaned against the counter. She wasn't easy before. Anna looked at him carefully. Babies feel emotions more than adults think. What do you mean? Anna dried her hands with a towel. They feel tension, stress, fear. Alexander stiffened slightly. And you think she felt that from me? Anna shook her head gently. I think she felt how scared you were of losing her. Alexander didn't answer immediately, because she was right. And hearing the truth from someone else made it harder to hide. Anna changed the subject quickly. She's going to start walking soon. Alexander raised an eyebrow. Already? Anna nodded. She's stubborn. Alexander gave a small smirk. She got that from me. Anna laughed. No argument there. For a brief moment, the kitchen felt warm and light. Then silence returned. Alexander cleared his throat. Good night, Anna. Good night. But as he walked away, he realized something troubling. He didn't want the conversation to end. Over the next few weeks, those small conversations became routine. Sometimes they talked about Lily. Sometimes about work. Sometimes about nothing important at all. But every conversation made the connection between them stronger. And neither of them was prepared for that. Mrs. Henderson noticed it long before they did. One afternoon she found Alexander sitting on the living room floor. The powerful CEO of a billion-dollar company. Playing with baby toys. Anna sat nearby, laughing while Lily tried to stack colorful rings. Mrs. Henderson nearly dropped the laundry basket. Well, I'll be, she whispered. Alexander looked up. Oh, Mrs. Henderson. She raised an eyebrow. Sir, are you aware you're wearing a plastic crown? Alexander looked confused. Anna burst out laughing. Lily had placed a small toy crown on his head. Alexander removed it awkwardly. Anna wiped tears of laughter from her eyes. You should see your face. Alexander sighed. I blame you for this. Anna grinned. I accept the responsibility. Mrs. Henderson left the room smiling. Because something important was happening. The house felt alive again. And for the first time since Emily's death, Alexander looked happy. But happiness can be terrifying for someone who believes they don't deserve it. The turning point came on a quiet autumn night. Rain tapped softly against the windows. The house was silent. Lily had fallen asleep early after a long day of playing. Anna walked into the kitchen to make tea. It had become her nightly habit. A small moment of calm before bed. As she waited for the kettle to boil, she heard footsteps. Alexander entered the kitchen. He looked tired. His tie was loosened, his sleeves rolled up. Anna smiled slightly. Long day. Alexander nodded. Meetings. Anna poured hot water into 2 cups. You look like you could use tea. Alexander hesitated. Then nodded again. Anna handed him a cup. Their fingers brushed briefly. That tiny touch sent a quiet spark through both of them. They stood near the kitchen counter in silence. Steam rose from the tea. Outside, rain continued to fall. Alexander glanced at Anna. She looked relaxed, comfortable, at home. And that realization scared him. Because this house had never felt like home since Emily died. Until now. Anna noticed his stare. What? She asked softly. Alexander shook his head. Nothing. But his eyes didn't move away. Anna felt her heart begin to race. There was something different about the way he was looking at her. Something intense, honest, and vulnerable. Alexander set the teacup down slowly. Anna? Yes. For a moment he said nothing. He simply stepped closer. Anna's breath caught. The space between them shrank. Neither of them moved away. Alexander raised his hand gently. He brushed a loose strand of hair away from her face. His fingers lingered near her cheek. Anna's heart pounded so loudly she was sure he could hear it. Alexander, she whispered. But she didn't step back. That was all the permission he needed. He leaned forward slowly. Their lips met softly. The kiss was gentle at first, almost hesitant, as if both of them were asking the same question. Is this real? Anna placed her hand against his chest. She could feel his heart racing. Alexander pulled her slightly closer. The kiss deepened. Warm, tender, unexpectedly emotional. It felt like something both of them had been holding back for weeks. Maybe longer. When they finally pulled apart, they remained close. Forehead against forehead. Breathing the same air. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. But upstairs, Lily stirred in her crib. The baby monitor crackled softly. Anna smiled faintly. Duty calls. Alexander nodded. She walked toward the stairs. But before she left the room, she glanced back. Their eyes met again. And in that moment, both of them felt the same thing. Hope. Something neither had expected. Something neither had planned. Something fragile and powerful at the same time. For the first time in months, Alexander Hayes allowed himself to believe he might not be alone forever. But hope has a dangerous enemy. Guilt. And the next morning, that guilt would arrive like a storm, destroying everything they thought had just begun. The cold morning. Sometimes the most painful wounds are not caused by anger. They are caused by silence. The morning after the kiss began like any other day inside the Hayes estate. Sunlight slowly filtered through the tall windows. The house was quiet. Anna woke earlier than usual. For a few seconds she lay still in bed, staring at the ceiling. Then the memory of the night before returned. Alexander's hand against her cheek. The warmth of his voice. The kiss. Her heart fluttered at the thought. A small smile formed on her lips. For the first time since arriving at the house, she allowed herself to imagine something more than just being Lily's nurse. Something warmer. Something hopeful. But downstairs, Alexander Hayes had not slept. He sat alone in his office. A dim desk lamp illuminated the room. In his hand was an old photograph. Emily, his late wife. She stood in a garden wearing a light blue dress, her hair glowing in the sunlight. Her smile was soft and full of life. Alexander stared at the photo for a long time. The memory of the kiss replayed in his mind. Anna's warmth. The way she looked at him. The way his heart had responded without hesitation. And suddenly, the guilt arrived. It came quietly, like a whisper in his mind. You forgot her. Alexander shut his eyes. No, he muttered under his breath. But the voice inside him continued. You kissed someone else in the same house she lived in. His chest tightened. How could you move on so easily? Alexander placed the photo face down on the desk. His jaw tightened. Because deep down, he believed that voice. He believed he was betraying Emily's memory. And Alexander Hayes had spent his entire life punishing himself for mistakes. By the time morning arrived, he had already made a decision. He would fix this. He would restore control. And the easiest way to do that was distance. Anna walked into the kitchen that morning feeling strangely nervous. She didn't know why. Perhaps it was anticipation. Perhaps it was hope. Or perhaps something deep inside her already sensed what was coming. The kitchen was empty. But a cup of coffee sat on the counter. Exactly how she liked it. Anna smiled softly. Then she heard footsteps behind her. Alexander entered the kitchen. His expression was calm, controlled, almost emotionless. Anna turned to face him. "Good morning?" Alexander nodded slightly. "Good morning?" The tone was polite, professional, cold. Anna felt the shift instantly. Still, she tried to keep things normal. "Lily slept well last night," she said gently. Alexander picked up the daily report from the counter. "I see that." He scanned the page quickly. His voice remained distant. "She has a pediatric checkup tomorrow." "Yes," Anna replied. "I already scheduled it." Alexander nodded once. "Good." Then he placed the paper down. For a moment Anna waited, expecting something more. A smile. A glance. Any sign that last night had meant something. But nothing came. Instead, Alexander reached for his briefcase. "I have meetings today." Anna blinked. "That's good." Alexander walked toward the door. Before leaving, he paused briefly. "Please keep things professional, Anna." Her stomach dropped. The words hit her like ice water. "Professional?" she repeated quietly. Alexander avoided her eyes. "This is still a workplace." The silence that followed felt heavy. Anna felt heat rise behind her eyes. But she refused to cry. She straightened her posture. "Of course, Mr. Hayes." That title stung more than anything. He nodded. Then he left. The door closed behind him. Anna stood in the empty kitchen. Her coffee grew cold on the counter. For several seconds she didn't move. Then she whispered softly to herself. "So that's how it is." Upstairs, Lily began to cry. Anna wiped her eyes quickly. Because no matter what happened between adults, a baby still needed care. And Lily was the one innocent heart in all of this. Meanwhile, Alexander drove to work. His knuckles tightened around the steering wheel. The conversation replayed in his mind. Anna's expression. The hurt in her eyes. For a moment he nearly turned the car around. Nearly went back. Nearly apologized. But the voice of guilt returned. "You already failed Emily once." Alexander clenched his jaw. No. He would not allow himself to break again. Distance was safer. Cleaner. Necessary. Back at the house, the emotional atmosphere had changed. Mrs. Henderson noticed immediately. Anna moved through the house quietly. Too quietly. Normally she hummed while caring for Lily. Today she said very little. Mrs. Henderson walked into the nursery later that afternoon. Anna sat by the window feeding Lily. "You look like someone stole your favorite book," the older woman said gently. Anna forced a smile. "I'm fine." Mrs. Henderson crossed her arms. "I've been alive long enough to recognize heartbreak." Anna looked down at Lily. He made it clear. Clear about what? That whatever happened last night was a mistake. Mrs. Henderson sighed deeply. "That stubborn man." Anna shook her head. "It's not his fault. But it still hurts." Mrs. Henderson softened. She placed a hand on Anna's shoulder. "Alexander Hayes is a good man. But grief can make good men act like fools." Anna didn't respond. Because right now, it didn't feel like grief. It felt like rejection. Days passed. The distance between them grew sharper. Alexander avoided Anna whenever possible. Their conversations became brief and formal. Anna did her job perfectly. But the warmth that once filled the house had faded. Even Lily seemed to notice. One evening, while Alexander was sitting in the living room reviewing work files, Lily suddenly began crying loudly. Anna rushed downstairs with the baby. "She won't calm down," Anna said. Alexander stood up immediately. He reached for Lily. The baby quieted slightly in his arms. But she continued fussing. Anna watched silently. Then she gently placed her hand over Lily's back. She hummed the familiar lullaby. Slowly, Lily relaxed. Alexander looked at Anna. For a moment their eyes met. There was pain there. Unspoken. Unresolved. And something else. Something neither of them could deny anymore. The connection between them hadn't disappeared. It had only been buried. But buried feelings have a dangerous habit. Eventually, they rise again. And when they do, they often bring the truth with them. A truth that Alexander Hayes was not prepared for. Because the woman he had pushed away was hiding a secret that would soon change everything. The truth he never saw. There is a moment in every person's life when pride becomes heavier than regret. And when that moment passes, the regret stays. For Alexander Hayes, that realization came 2 weeks after the morning he pushed Anna away. The house had fallen back into silence. Not the peaceful silence that once existed before, but a hollow one. The kind that echoes, Anna still cared for Lily with the same devotion. She smiled when the baby laughed. She sang the same lullaby every night. But something had changed. The warmth she once shared with Alexander was gone. Every conversation between them now sounded like a formal meeting. Lily ate well today. Thank you. She took 2 naps. Good. Short. Controlled. Empty. Mrs. Henderson noticed the difference immediately. And she didn't hide her frustration. One evening she walked into Alexander's office without knocking. He barely looked up from his laptop. Yes. The older woman crossed her arms. You are the most stubborn man I've ever met. Alexander sighed. Mrs. Henderson. No, she interrupted. You listen to me. Alexander slowly closed the laptop. Fine. She pointed toward the hallway. That girl downstairs cares for your daughter like she's her own child. I know. She brought laughter back into this house. Alexander remained silent. And you treated her like she was nothing. His jaw tightened. That's not true. Mrs. Henderson raised an eyebrow. Then why does she look like someone broke her heart? Alexander didn't answer. Because he knew exactly why. The housekeeper shook her head. You think pushing people away protects you. But sometimes... Her voice softened. Sometimes it only proves you're afraid of being happy. She turned and left. Alexander sat alone in the quiet room. Her words echoed in his mind. Afraid of being happy. He leaned back in his chair. His gaze drifted toward the framed photograph on the desk. Emily, his late wife. For months he had believed moving forward meant betraying her memory. But suddenly, something inside him shifted. Emily had been the kindest person he had ever known. Would she really want him to live like this forever? Would she want Lily to grow up in a house filled with silence? Or would she want her daughter surrounded by love? Alexander looked down at his hands. For the first time, he began to question the wall he had built around himself. The next morning something unexpected happened. Anna entered the living room with Lily. But she wasn't alone. 2 men in suits followed behind her. Alexander stood up immediately. What's going on? Anna looked calm. Professional. But there was a new strength in her expression. Mr. Hayes, one of the men said politely. We're here regarding the Carter Medical Foundation. Alexander frowned. The Carter Foundation? Anna took a quiet breath. Then she spoke. My last name isn't just Carter. Alexander looked confused. My father was Dr. Samuel Carter. The name hit him instantly. Samuel Carter was one of the most respected surgeons in the country. A medical pioneer. And the founder of a billion-dollar healthcare foundation. Alexander stared at her. You're his daughter? Anna nodded. Yes. The room fell silent. Alexander's mind raced. Then why? Why was I working as a nurse? Anna finished gently. Alexander nodded slowly. Anna smiled faintly. My father believed the best doctors must first understand patients. So before joining the foundation leadership, I chose to work in hospitals. Alexander absorbed the information slowly. Then realization dawned. You didn't need this job. No, Anna admitted. But I wanted it. The second man spoke up. The Carter Foundation recently partnered with several hospitals in the city. He handed Alexander a document. Your company's medical technology division is one of our top candidates. Alexander scanned the page. A multi-billion-dollar collaboration proposal. His company had been trying to secure this partnership for months. He looked up again. At no point, Anna added quietly, did I intend to mix my personal life with the foundation. Alexander felt a strange mix of emotions. Respect. And something else. Regret. Because suddenly he understood something very clearly. Anna had never cared about his wealth, his status, his influence. She had cared about Lily, about kindness, about people, and he had pushed her away because of his own fears. Lily suddenly reached toward Anna. Mama, the baby babbled softly. Everyone in the room froze. Anna blinked in surprise. Alexander felt his chest tighten. Lily giggled happily. Then she grabbed Anna's finger. Just like the very first day they met. Anna looked down at the baby. Then she looked back at Alexander. And for a moment, everything that had been left unsaid hung in the air. Alexander stepped closer. His voice was quieter than anyone had ever heard it. I owe you an apology. Anna said nothing. I thought moving forward meant forgetting the past. His voice trembled slightly. But I was wrong. He looked toward Lily. She deserves a house filled with love. Then he looked back at Anna. And so do I. The room remained silent. Mrs. Henderson watched from the doorway. She crossed her arms and smiled knowingly, because she had been waiting for this moment. Anna studied Alexander carefully. Then she asked softly, "Are you sure this time?" Alexander didn't hesitate. "Yes." Anna smiled. Not the polite smile she used during the past 2 weeks, but the warm one, the real one, the one that had brought life back into the house. Lily clapped her hands excitedly, as if she understood everything. Mrs. Henderson chuckled. "Well," she said loudly, "it's about time." Everyone laughed. And for the first time since Emily's death, the Hayes estate felt like a home again. Because sometimes life teaches its most important lesson in the simplest way. Never judge someone by their position. Never underestimate someone's kindness. And never push away the person who brings light back into your world. Because respect, humility, and love will always find their way back. And when they do, they often arrive with a little bit of instant karma.